Hi everybody, it's Good Friday. Well, today obviously is a really special day in the Christian calendar when we remember the death of Jesus Christ on the cross. But I always love the fact that it is called Good Friday. We've often done a march through Scarborough. We've had some great marches through Scarborough on Good Friday called the Walk of Witnesses here in Scarborough. And we go all the way up to the castle on the top of the hill. So that's a really great thing to be doing and to be involved in. But there's all kinds of different traditions come together, isn't there, at this time? And at different times, we've done things where we've marched in silence and had a drum. It's been like a funeral march. And then there have been other times when we've been able to make lots of noise and wave flags. I bet you can guess which is my favourite. Yeah, the waving flags and making noise. I think at the end, we must remember that today is called Good Friday, not Bad Friday. Why would we get happy and celebrate when it's a day that Jesus died? Because of what that means to us, because of what that it gives us, because it was through Jesus' death on the cross that he gave us complete life. I mean, it didn't look like it at the time. When he was dying there on the cross, most of his friends had left, most had run away because everything looked like it was coming to the end. And yet it was the beginning of something new, which is what we're going to remember on Sunday. It was the beginning of moving from the old into the new. It was the enabling of people to be reconciled fully to God their Father. That's why it's Good Friday. And Good Friday, in some ways, yes, it might be solemn, but I think it's a day for rejoicing. And Good Friday doesn't really bear any resemblance to the situation we were going through. To save the world, Jesus had to go to the cross. To save people's lives now, we have to sit at home. And, we might be bored or sad at not being with friends and family. Of course we are. But have you thought about how right now we're living through history? How you remember it? In 1665, during the plague pandemic that was happening then, the Black Plague, Isaac Newton was stuck at home. Do you know what he did? He developed the theory of gravity and changed scientific knowledge as we know it. Well, you might get up to quite that. Spectacular, but who knows? Who knows? But we do have space. And do you know what happens when there's space? People get created. In years to come, children in schools, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, will likely study the COVID-19 pandemic because it was worldwide, because it was a first time something like that had happened in this kind of a scale and in this kind of a way. It's going to be studied, it's going to be looked at, particularly as there's lots of records of all the things happening online. So these children will be looking at it. The children will learn that rainbows were a sign of hope. Rainbows were put in windows by other children to give hope to people there on the streets. They will hear how people come together like we did last night on our streets and clapped and cheered for all the people that are looking after vulnerable people, for the NHS workers, for all the key workers, for supermarket workers, for post people delivering all our post. So many different roles that people are still working and doing for us. They're keeping our country going. And those children, you know what? They will hear of when the whole world just slowed down and polluted skies cleared. They'll hear that it was a time when families spent time together, playing, having fun. They will hear of how we longed and looked forward to that one walk that we were allowed for a day, that one bit of exercise that we were allowed to have. And then they'll remember, they'll be taught that it was when people got to know their neighbours. How are we getting to know our neighbours when it's a time of isolation? Is one of the miracles of what is happening. It will be remembered. They will learn that it was a time when people helped those that were vulnerable. It was a time when we learned to realise how amazing it is to be able to hug one another. And it was a time when everybody was using Zoom and YouTube. It was a time when schools moved into the home and the parents had to become teachers. And yeah, it was a time when everybody stockpiled around the world loo rolls. That maybe not be one of the most noble things that happened. But you know what? I think those children will think, I wish I'd lived then. We're living through history right now. How will you remember this time? Will you spend time with God? Will you be blogging something? Video blogging? YouTube blogging? Writing a paper diary? Making a scrapbook? Even making a time capsule and burying it in your garden? Because it is certain that what we're going through right now, we have become part of history, and you don't want to miss it. I sometimes wonder, in the years to come, some of those disciples must have really thought, I wish I'd been at the foot of the cross. You see, they were frightened and they were fearful and they ran away when they should have been at the foot of the cross with their friend. But they missed it, and that would have been with them. Now, I think if I'd been one of those disciples, I'm pretty sure I would have been one of those ones not at the foot of the cross. I too would have been afraid of being caught and the same thing happening to me. But in this moment of history, in COVID-19, let's not miss it. Let's not miss what it's for. Let's not miss the time. Let's not miss the space. Let's not miss the fact that we can go for a walk and appreciate the blue sky. We can appreciate whatever scenery we're looking at. We can take a deep breath of fresh air. We can actually go for a walk without cars just bombing past us all the time. We can spend time just talking to people, because what we have got in the midst of all of that, it's like we've been given time at home. We're not stuck at home. We're safe at home. So this Good Friday, let's look for the good that's in COVID-19. We could become mournful. We could play the drum. We could be a funeral march. Or we can get the flags out and say, I'm going to rejoice in the good things. I'm going to rejoice in what is happening, because there's lots of hard things. There's lots of bad things that we'll have to face. But I'm going to look to the good. I'm going to look to the God. And I'm going to remember this time as a time when. Well, that bit is up to you. What will you remember? Listen, everybody. God bless you. Have a really good Friday. And keep safe. Oh, and don't forget, if you're watching this on the morning of Good Friday, that this afternoon we have got this initiative, United in Prayer, at 3 o'clock this afternoon. If you're watching on actual Good Friday 2020, we're going to stop what we're doing. We're going to step out of our house and we're going to pray against this COVID-19 virus. Christians around the nation and around the nations, as far as I understand, are going to stand and say and speak good and health and peace over their communities. And we're all going to cry out, it is finished, at different times in the prayer, just as Jesus cried, it is finished on the cross. It is finished. No longer is humankind separated from God, but it is finished. We are not allowing this virus to grow further and further in our nation. It's time for that curve to come down. It's time for health and healing to be released. We are not allowing it to happen. We will be guardians in prayer for this nation. So you're with me on that? Do you agree with me on that? I think you probably do. Okay, everybody, as I was saying, keep safe and God bless.